Hello and welcome to this Come to Jesus Daily Devotional. I trust you are well. This week in our Luke series we're focusing on Luke 12, 4-12, where the theme is on how we deal with pressure to hide or compromise our faith. And today we see that the love of God and his attention on us free us from fear. Let's read from Luke 12, 6-7. Are not 5 sparrows sold for 2 pennies, yet not one of them is forgotten by God? Indeed, the very hairs of your head are all numbered. Don't be afraid. You are worth more than many sparrows. Today's lesson: we must overcome our fear of people with the love of God. I don't know if you've ever done any rock climbing. If you have, you may have had someone on the ground belaying for you. This is where they hold a safety line that, if you should lose your footing, will keep you from falling to the ground. And when you know that you're supported and protected, and that if you slip, you're not going to plunge to your death or injury, you can take bigger risks. You can try harder things. You can jump for handholds that are further away. In today's text, we are being encouraged to allow the attention, love of God to know. We need to know he's with us. He's powerful and loving toward us, and this drives out fear so that we can live for him. Jesus teaches us about the omniscience of God, that God knows all things fully. He knows all things that will ever be known. There's no new information to God. He knows the end from the beginning. Jesus argues from the lesser to the greater that if 5 sparrows are not forgotten by God, he's certainly aware and has not forgotten us. Added to this everyday illustration, Jesus makes the point that if God has numbered the hairs on your head, how can we think that he's forgotten us? The love of God is to drive out fear. Fear is the product of believing that we are endangered. In the context of this passage, the people were tempted to fear the religious leaders rather than God because they believed that the threat of the religious leaders was more real than the attention, love, and judgment of God. They needed to see God. They needed to fear God. They needed to respect God. They needed to respond to God rather than worship these religious leaders and follow them. The story of Hagar is such a great example to us, and as she is rejected, she's in the desert. And we read this in Genesis 16:13-14. She gave this name to the Lord who spoke to her: "You are the God who sees me." For she said, "I have now seen the one who sees me." That is why the well was called Bir Lahai Roi, well of the living one who sees me. Genesis 16:13-14. What wonderful words. As she is wandering in the heat and in the desert, God speaks to her and she names him. She names him the God who sees me. And may we learn to do the same and so overcome all fear. So in response, we must overcome our fear of people with the love of God. May we confess the name of God, El Roi, the God who sees me. This is not simply a matter of studying these truths. Our faith in the love of and care of God is often grown through prayer and study, but it's also grown through the challenges and trials of life as our faith, like gold, is refined in the heat of these trials and difficulties. We come to know the God who sees me and name him as such because we find that when we're in the desert, he does see us and help us, and we grow in maturity. We are to choose to make difficult decisions, to stand up for our faith, to do difficult things that maybe scare us, because we're choosing to trust the name of God and his promises over our fears. We are to understand that God knows us, he's with us, he sees us, And we must overcome the fear of people and things with the love of God. There is no painless growth. Sometimes we have to go through the trials in order for us to be able to say in a new way, "You are the God who sees me." God bless you.